What's up, Dog Pound? Welcome on into the Dawgland post-game show. I am your host, Jackson McCurry, joined tonight by our good buddy, Dawgland contributor, Jake Samuelak, a.k.a. Jake Hurricane. Jake, what is going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Lots to talk about, to say the least.
Yeah. We just, I asked you to do this because Anthony didn't know if he'd be back in time. He went to the game today, and he might hop in if he gets back in time. Obviously, severe weather's been wild up there by the lake, so he might not even have power. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about because the Browns lost 31-7. But obviously, we're not going to break down the game fully because it's preseason football. It's, we're here to talk about the quarterbacks. And Jake, we have to start with what just happened within the last hour. That wasn't even part of the game. Deshaun Watson stepped up to the podium for his post-game presser. And Jake, I think it's fair to say that was the wildest press conference I have seen as a Cleveland Browns fan. There is no way, that comes close to anything else. Yes, Baker Mayfield has said things. Myles Garrett had said things at some point. But to see what Deshaun goes up and says, it may have really changed the course of this franchise, regardless of how the 2026 season was going to go. But things may be changing inside that organization than what we expected here over the last week or a couple of weeks, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember about 25-ish years of football now here, and I've never, like you said, Baker, Miles, we've definitely seen some just crazy moments in pressers. But for me, it's just for him to come out and say the things that he did and just not acknowledge how terrible he has been since he's been in Cleveland. And that's always been a huge problem I have with Deshaun. What accountability has he ever taken? You think and I'm not a person that's going to sit here and claim people that know who I am know I don't like Deshaun Watson, and whatever the off the field stuff was, a lot of why I can't stand this guy is because of how bad he's has this franchise exactly where we are because of him. So, the losing, the bad football, the injuries, his I don't cares and press conferences about how he doesn't care about anything, it doesn't bother me. And then to go up there today after that kind of performance, which I'm sure we'll get into, is just astounding to me. I agree with pretty much everything I'm seeing online right now. There is absolutely zero way, not just because of how bad he was on the field today, but to go into that and say that. It's just that's all I got.
Yeah, and before we really dive in, thanks to everybody that's already hopped in with us. We appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe for plenty of Browns content that's coming this season. Hit that like button on this video. It really helps us out. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the like button there to follow that page. Um, I'm at Jack McCurry 08 on X. Jake is at Big Jake CLE, and check out his podcast Scarlet to the Land, where he talks Ohio State and all Cleveland sports. But let's talk about the press conference. They were asked, or they asked Deshaun. I don't even know who asked it at this point, but they asked him about getting booed, and he goes, "quote I think the whole world knows it has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit more personal than that, so I think it's a disrespectful thing." And he went on to say, "Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. That same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So what does that have to do about performance? When a person gets hurt, especially if they're in the city and they cheer." And he also added that the only negative energy he feels is when he enters Cleveland Browns Stadium or Huntington Bank Field, whatever it's called at this point, or social media, which is funny because he's always admitted he doesn't look at social media, which we find completely BS because he's always posting Instagram hype videos. But he goes, "When I'm out in public, nobody gives that negative energy," which, I mean, there is a lot of fake tough people that will say things on social media and then out in public, they act like your best friend. I've witnessed it. You've probably witnessed it too, Jake. But for
Today.
Deshaun, yeah, today even, yeah, the last couple of days to say the least. But for him to come out and just completely say that, this just makes me think, Jake, he is so mentally cooked at this point that he just cannot accept the fact that he is not the beloved NFL player that he was 7, 8 years ago when he stepped into the league and took the league by storm and, had Houston rolling for those first couple of seasons. Obviously, it's his own doing with the allegations that are out there and what Judge Sue L. Robinson said in her report. Like, he is so mentally cooked, and it's just, I don't see how he can be an NFL starting quarterback, even an NFL quarterback at this point. I think he's done. Like, I cannot see a team. I want to know what NFL teams are thinking watching that press conference today and thinking, like, can we even take a chance on this guy after his contract's up in Cleveland? Like, he just seems so mentally cooked. And I admit it, I said it on the YouTube short and the TikTok that I posted after he left the game. I was wrong. Like, I thought he was going to be the starting quarterback, and I thought maybe he could shake off some of the mental aspects, but it's apparent at this point he can't.
Yeah, and just what you just said there, like if there's any front offices that are looking at him about, hey, could this guy come in and maybe we could get him back to form, or we just need a backup quarterback, we think he could fulfill that role. I want to just aim something at him. For him to bring up the Achilles injury, I want to make it very clear, and if you disagree, I really don't care, because everybody knows the reason he was booed was not because he tore his Achilles. It was truly because we knew, and I wasn't a person that booed. I'll never do that. I do think it was a low-class move, as much as I don't like Watson. People were cheering because they were tired of watching him play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He was that bad. That is why you were booed. At some point, look in the mirror, and this is another reason, like I said, we'll get into this, but this is another reason why, especially from what we've seen today with Shedeur, you're lying to yourself. I'm not saying this guy is our franchise quarterback, but you are lying to yourself if you say you do not see a clear difference from what we've seen in the preseason last year at this time compared to who he is today.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, he is so far gone from what he was in Houston. I mean, like I said, he did this to himself with all the allegations and the denying and just the way he's carried himself since he came to Cleveland. He hasn't done himself any favors. Now on the field, and you said it, people were booing him because of how he was performing on the football field. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league up until that point when he ripped his Achilles in 2024. I still don't. I'm sure there was some fans cheering that he had gotten hurt that day, but I think it was more or less we were tired of watching him play quarterback. And the fact that we saw Jameis Winston come into that game that day, I think that was part of it too, because we were finally like, yes, we're excited because I don't know many people who hate Jameis Winston. He seems like one of the most likable guys in the NFL. I think we were just excited to see a change at quarterback. We've gone through it so many times. Like when the backup gets to come in the football game, we're legitimately happy to see that.
Yeah.
So, like, I know Deshaun is, I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about the city of Cleveland once he's officially gone from the Browns. He won't say it now because he's not going to try to make things worse for himself and his family while he's still living in the city of Cleveland. But he is just so, like, far out of touch with reality. And to think, like, deep down, he cares. He absolutely cares. You could see it in his eyes, like, and when on Thursday, when Mary Kay asked him, and he's like, "I don't care," like he absolutely cares, and it showed today because his body language after the way he performed on the football field. That tell you all you needed to know. He absolutely cares what the people think about him at this point.
Yeah, and just going back to the game today, we've watched a lot of bad football in Cleveland, and I'm not. That was some of the worst quarterbacking play I've seen. I mean, did you see when they kind of cut to Denzel Boston on the sideline? I'm sure the media will eat that up and have a lot to say when
Oh
he
yeah,
kind of like, come on, man. Like, I mean, this is just we're in a bad position. I mean, I'll keep it real. I'm a Shador guy. I believe he can still show us a little something. He's a long ways away. Like I said, I like the way he was operating today. The biggest thing with him right now is I'm not expecting him to come out and just blow stuff wide open, and just I'm a franchise quarterback. What I expect is to see him more in control. Early on in camp, we heard about him, and he was still going on one read, wasn't reading the field quick enough. Today I was seeing him go through progressions. Maybe there's a couple of times I need to see different footage to see what receivers came open, but I could see him progressing, and him in the pocket right now is a lot better. So we've seen a lot of bad quarterback play, but Deshaun today was absolutely abysmal. And then just to go out, after the game and like just go on a rant like that out of nowhere. I agree with you. I agree with everything I've been saying. I just don't know how that like the coaching's like, how are you gonna like come into the media and like defend those comments? Like, and we had already, I know you had put a tweet out before the game, like, or as it was ending, saying, because Todd, had said maybe early next week he'd like to name a starter. Even after that performance, that would have been a horrible look for Todd to come out there and say that.
oh without a doubt.
Like, what are you going to do? Go another week? Like go into the last preseason game and still not name a starter? Like, especially after these comments today, dude, wrap it up.
Yep.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, I did find it very interesting. Well, let's get to the on the field performance real quick. Like when Andrew Berry was up in the press box with Chris Rose and Joe Thomas during the third quarter when Deshaun was out there. After he threw the interception, they went to commercial and they came back. Andrew Berry was gone. I don't know if that was planned, but I feel like maybe he was like, yeah, we might need to go have some discussions about the quarterback room because I feel like it might have been settled, but now it's definitely left wide open, especially after today. And I found this very interesting. Ashley Bastock of Cleveland.com, and she's been on the beat since 2021. She said, I don't think I've ever heard a post-game interview with a player like the one we just had from Deshaun Watson, and in a Browns preseason game nonetheless. And that's exactly what like I had said at the beginning of the show. It was like, I've never like experienced a press game or a post-game press conference like that. Like it was so wild to me that like this is all coming to a head and it's unraveling, and it's probably for the betterment of the franchise. We kind of know what this season might end up becoming, but it is unbelievable. And let's get to the on the field performance and we'll save Shador because I want to focus on Watson at the moment. He was with the second, third team, what have you, of the Browns roster, offensive line, etc., the receivers, and they were going up against the Bills' third string defense. Watson looked good Thursday in the joint practice against the first team Bills defense, and he looked absolutely lost against the third string. He just couldn't get into a rhythm. The ball did not look very good coming out of his hands. The interception, which I thought, Gage had an opportunity to catch that ball. You told me, like, from looking at the new angle, the ball got deflected at the line of scrimmage.
That was Shador's interception.
Oh, so Shador's interception. Okay, I'm sorry. But, like, Watson's interception, he throws it to Gage. It goes through Gage's hands, and I said if he was like an inch or two taller, he probably would have caught it, but obviously you can't or say hypotheticals like that. It was not a good throw. It went through Gage's hands and it gets intercepted, but he just looked absolutely lost against third string defenses. And this is a guy that was a multi-time Pro Bowler, led the league in passing 6 years ago. Like it's all falling apart for Deshaun Watson at this point.
Yeah, and I think that part of that is I feel like the media is really trying to push the controversy. They get a lot of clicks, whatever. I don't know if maybe today's performance, maybe they don't feel as secure like Deshaun and Shador. So maybe that is why it kind of boiled over to a point to him today. He knew he performed really badly and maybe a performance he thought he had to have. And like you said, mentally, the multiple Pro Bowl Deshaun Watson, that's a guy we traded for and we never got him in Cleveland. And that's the unfortunate reality of being a Browns fan. And that's why I guess I'm, online a lot, shocked and debating with people on why you would even want to see him play again. But, after today, like you said, 5 for 12, 35 yards, the one pick. Wasn't a horribly thrown ball, but it was a couple inches too high. You can't do that in the NFL, we know. And, it was a pick. And it's hard for me to sit here. Like, if there was a clear gap, which I talked to you about this before off the record, if there was like some true clear gap that we were seeing between these two, I understand Todd Monken. This is his first head coaching gig. This is his moment. He wants to win. We're not seeing that, when we're watching these two on the field. Like, it's just a no-brainer to me. Like, why not? Like, but I think it's all just talk at this point, especially after what happened after the game today. Like, for him to come out and say that, I think he wants out pretty much. Like, I don't know how he thinks you could come back from that.
Yeah, and just for like clarification on people, because you had asked me about the cap ramifications, and I'm no Jack Duffin, but I go to over the cap. I pull up that cap calculator. I did a post June 1 cut for Deshaun Watson this year. The thing is, all we would rely on is the rollover cap we currently have. I think it's like between 20 and 30 million. If we wait and post June 1 them at the end of after this season, we would have more cap space, which means we would have more ammo to build around whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Shador Sanders, whether it's a 2027 draft pick, or whoever we end up with as the quarterback in 2027. My plan all along or not all along, but this is what I would do right now. I would maneuver that roster to carry 4 quarterbacks because I don't think you can let Taylor Green go. I think he gets picked up, especially if he plays well next week against the New England Patriots. If you don't think Gabriel is worthy of being the backup quarterback, which I know a lot of the Browns fans don't think so, then you go find another quarterback. You trade him or cut him, and you trade for whoever's going to be available come cut downs, and you start Shador Sanders. And I have to wonder what is going on once they get back to the facility in Berea. They sit down and have those important discussions on the quarterback position. What do they do? Because as far as I'm concerned, Jake, you make Deshaun inactive, you pay him that $46 million, and then come early January when the players leave, you say peace to Deshaun. So I feel for any human being to a point about things. And this goes for anybody that's gone through things by their own wrongdoing or whatever. But the way Deshaun handled himself today, it's done. Any ounce of respect that he might have had left from anybody, it's gone because he just seemed like he did not give a crap what the fans or anybody thinks at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could twist it up any other way. And you know me. I mean, I've known Jack for a long time now. Let's just say I'm the same way you are. I don't try to beat up people. Even I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. People make mistakes. So I don't try to beat you up just like continuing to do it, just beat you down. Like, I just think that's just, immature, honestly. People deserve second chances, whether Deshaun does or not. That's on him. And when I see people taking accountability for things they may have caused and things of that nature, that's what goes into the way, that I see things. And in his case, he's taken no accountability for anything. And we just seen it again today to go on his little rant. He feels more love in every stadium that's not Cleveland. Oh, when I tore my Achilles, boo-hoo, the fans were booing me because I got hurt. Once again, nobody booed you because you were hurt. They were booing and they were cheering because you suck. and you have the entire time you came to Cleveland. It's that simple. It's just that simple, man. And I'm
It
just
is.
tired. It's just that, every year it's just something, man, with the Browns. I love this team to death, but every year, and not now that this happens, I just feel like you got to make the right decision. You cannot have this kind of cancerous attitude in the locker room.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to everybody that's in here. Jake, we got 65 people watching right now. This is crazy. This is the
Oh, great.
most we have ever had in a live stream. So
Thanks,
shout
everybody.
out to everybody. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you're a loyal Dog Pound member, we would appreciate you being a part of the crew. But Jake, let's talk about Shador because I thought he looked solid today. I thought, the interception is what it was. It was a late throw. It was he it was an overthrow or under, yeah, it was just a late throw, got deflected, intercepted, but I thought he was solid that first drive. The chemistry he has with Luke Floria going back to last season, it was on display again. 2 catches, 31 yards, a touchdown for Floria. Right now, I'm penciling him in as wide receiver 6 on this team. I think he's earned it over Gage Larvidan and the other guys battling for that last roster spot. But all in all, I thought it was a solid day, and I think it kept the door open before everything happened post game for Deshaun to still have a case to be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Or Shador, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I was extremely pleased with Shador today. Like people that are watching that know me, know you. People know how I feel about Shador. I've always liked him. I was pounding the table for him in the draft when he kept sliding. I actually was all about moving back into the end of the first for him. I just want to ask people, just sit here and forget the numbers today, which were fine. But what's important to me in a preseason game with a young player is how he was operating. And what I mean by that is he looked like he was in control. He looked comfortable. He got the offense moving. Most importantly for me, he looked a lot better today than what he did last game. And that's what I want from a young quarterback. It's progress. It's not all beautiful. When people beat him up for last year, it's not going to be all beautiful. And I truly, don't get me wrong. I know there's some people that just pretend he does no wrong and he was just great, which isn't the case. But he made some very good tight window NFL throws last year. He also made a lot of bad mistakes. It's going to happen with young players, but what I'm ultimately looking for is some kind of progress. And today I've seen that. I'm not even comparing Shador. I will say this. I'll compare Shador Sanders today to what he looked like last year at this time. He looks a lot more comfortable. He looks like a true pro. And then I'll just go ahead and say, look at him last game. Okay, maybe he got to play with the starters this week who weren't really the starters anyways. It was a big gap anyways this week. And for me, what we're looking for in a quarterback that's young is progress. And I'm not saying he's our franchise quarterback. People like to go crazy and just if you give him any kind of credit, just beat you. He's horrible. You're entitled to that opinion. But if we look at this objectively as a unit, you cannot tell me you're not seeing the progress. I see a professional. If he's not a starting quarterback, franchise quarterback, I see a guy that can play quarterback at this level, and that's important. If you stole that in the 5th round, that's a huge win for Andrew Berry.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think a lot of the credit should go to Todd Monken, to Mike, I want to say Baja Kane, the quarterback coach. They've done great work. And Todd Monken said it today. He goes, Shador has made tremendous growth from the time I got here till now. And I think we can all see it. Shador's put the work in. Yes, he's been getting better. The one thing that stood out to me today, and it's the one thing that, was talked about throughout training camp so far, the cadence, the way, we didn't see, I can't remember off the top of my head, did we see any pre-snap penalties today with him? That was his doing?
No, I don't think so.
A lot of it was probably, if it was false starts by the offensive line or whatever. But I thought the operation was solid. He converted 3rd downs. He converted a 4th down or 2. He
drew 2 penalties too today, didn't he?
He drew 3 offside penalties for the Buffalo Bills. So Shador, that's what I'm talking about. Seeing the progress with him. Yes, there was things during training camp that were very critical towards Shador, but it seems like he is putting in the work. And I also think that's why, because a lot of the talk in the spring was Deshaun was going to be the starter, and that Monken wanted to make that decision by the end of spring ball. And then he let it play out because Shador was starting to show progress towards the end of OTAs and at minicamp to where they could come back to training camp and see how he keeps making that progress. And yes, he's had his good days, he's had his bad days out there in practices, but he's been getting better. And last week obviously wasn't the most solid performance, but he got better. Like you said, you look at where he was at this time last year, that Rams game where he was just getting obliterated for holding on to the ball too long. Yes, he was behind uh, a bad offensive line, but to where he's at a year later, like he has definitely made progress as an NFL quarterback.
100%, and like the progressions, a lot of people, we wanted to see him get the ball out quicker. I think you're starting to see that. And I think the biggest difference you're seeing from the reason why I say I'm seeing a professional quarterback last year early on, especially in that Rams game, you got to get rid of the ball. He was trying to hit a home run every single time. He ain't doing that no more. If it's not there, if his first, second read's not there and it's collapsing on him, he's finding that out route. And I shout out to Todd Monken, man. Seeing the screen game, it's beautiful. One of them things that just seemed like, with Stefanski or even in our entire lives as Browns fan, we just never seem to have an NFL caliber screen game. And when you're watching good teams, you see that. And like in preseason, man, just seeing us, draw it up. And Deshaun, don't even want to talk about him, but the pass he made to Sampson on the screen last week, gets 40 yards or whatever it was. Like, it's just beautiful to see that. And I think that's a coach that, is helping his quarterbacks. And in Shador's case, it's done him really well.
Oh, without a doubt. And you just hope that he keeps building on it. I'm curious to see, like, this coming week against the Patriots, like, how are they going to go about it? Is it going to be a dress rehearsal? Is the starters going to be out there? If that's the case, I want to see Watson with the full first team off, or not Watson, Sanders with the full first team offense. And that includes the offensive line. Like today, you didn't see any of the starters. Fano, Johnson, both Jenkins and Titus Howard weren't out there. But I thought Watson, or I don't know, I got Watson on my brain because I still can't believe that press conference. But the way Sanders was able to hold his own behind that offensive line, which I thought they were pretty good. I think he only took 1 sack and 13 dropbacks. So it was a solid day for Sanders all around. The interception, you're going to watch film and you're going to work on those kind of things. But yeah, I thought it was just a solid day, and hopefully he continues to build on it.
Well, yeah, and when I had talked to you, off record before we started this show tonight, when I seen that ball tipped, I felt like it made a little bit more sense just because for me, I watched Shador all the way back to Jackson State. His accuracy was always a thing that I loved about him. So it was kind of surprising, to see that ball behind him. I still thought the tight end should have caught it, but to see it get slightly tipped at the line, that made me wonder. Maybe that ball was on target and the tip, threw it off. Whatever, it happens. It's the NFL. He got a bad break. Overall, though, grading him, he did everything that, for me, somebody that's been saying it's a no-brainer for him to start regardless. He did everything that I wanted him to do today. I mean, outside of the interception, I wish that didn't happen, but it happens. It's the NFL. Just really proud of the growth, man. Trade for hey, I like Will, man. I would love that.
It wouldn't be a live stream without trade for Will Howard, who unfortunately Pittsburgh's not letting him go. I mean, do we want? And we're not going to want Mason Rudolph. I think he's the odd man out in that quarterback room. But
yeah, this guy said this Jeffrey guy.
Yeah, he is. This is right, and he had mentioned Watson trade, or he's more done than that turkey for Thanksgiving. Yeah, he says Watson trade or sent home by Wednesday. I would not, like I said, he's going to be on the roster because of the salary and the cap implications, but it would not shock me if he is like mentally checked out and the Browns just go home and take care of yourself.
I mean, isn't that what the Texans did that, right? His last year there, he got paid to stay home.
He was around. Like, I think he was like scout team quarterback, but he just did not. Okay. He was inactive all year. And
I thought he just got paid to stay home because
that's
what I'd be doing at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Alex, our draft guru, he says one more year for Dante. We ran through them all last week, but it's just, man, this is crazy. Because if you would have told me this after Thursday that this was all going to happen, because we all were like, okay, Watson had a good day against the Bills defense. Like, yeah, he's probably going to be the starter. We still expect to see Shador a lot this coming year. But in 48 hours, it is.
I am very excited to hear. I want to hear them ask Monken about this. We're not going to get Andrew Berry. I wish we would. I just really want to hear. Like, I don't see. It's just crazy because, like, it seems like for me, out of all people that know me, you're like, oh, this is wishful thinking for you. You hate the guy, but I just really don't know how you can like sell him to this. Like, you could barely do it beforehand, and now, I mean, just like uh, Jeff Perry said, thanks for the comment as well. You know, he imploded publicly. Like, what more do we need to see here? Like I said beforehand, you know, I would be cool watching 17 games of Dylan Gabriel before I even wanted to see him play in Cleveland again. I'm not losing no sleep over it. Yeah. I just want to hear it be addressed. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think Munkin went first before the quarterback. So, like, yes, I am. Monday's press conference is going to be another must listen to by Todd Munkin. If we don't hear it tomorrow in the Zoom call, because I know he's got a Zoom call on Sunday, so it's going to be pretty wild. 79 people watching. God, guys, we appreciate you so much. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Dawgland. We will appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know.
Almost to 200. We're trying to reach 200 before football season.
Yep, and we have a thing going with the Barking Browns. We get to 2,000. If we get to 200, they get to 2,000. Jacob Roach, myself, and Anthony are doing the one chip challenge. So if you guys want to see some entertaining content as well, subscribe to the Dawgland. Do you guys?
What do you think will hurt worse, the one chip challenge or watching the Browns every Sunday for 17 or 18 weeks, I should say?
I'd have to say the one chip challenge because God, that's gonna hurt. I'm gonna have a glass of almond milk at the ready when that happens. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Jeff said, "Do you think Cleveland media can defend Watson like the ESPN Cleveland?" I've seen Zach Jackson say like the Browns really botched the QB plan, which shocker, the Browns botched something. Ashley Bastock said what she said. I will be curious to hear how ESPN Cleveland addresses it because we know the elephant in the room there. And it's not me trying to, be disrespectful to Chops. We all know he is he's been on Deshaun Watson's payroll. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear how Rizzo and the crew address this on Monday morning because it's going to be interesting to watch, to say the least.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm kind of looking most forward to at this point. Todd did say that he would like to name the starter early next week. Do we get that now? And it's a complete 180 from what everybody thought that it was Deshaun's job to lose, or now with Deshaun's, comments live after the game imploding the way that he did, is it now like, okay, like Shedeur had a nice solid start. He looked a lot better than what we've seen the week prior. Deshaun looked really bad and then just completely imploded live on the air. And now we're going to boost his confidence and name him the starter now. Like, it's going to be fun to kind of see how this plays out.
Jeff said ESPN Cleveland posted a thing on it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. So,
I wouldn't expect
Jake, we have more company into the live stream. Anthony has joined the fray. Anthony, what's up, brother?
What's up, fellas? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
You're good.
Cool. I just want to hop in from my car really quick while I had a second.
Anthony, I'm sure you heard the Watson press conference. Your thoughts on it?
I didn't fully hear it. I saw some of the quotes, but there is no way that guy can start for us in week 3. Like, if you want to give Shedeur a couple more weeks in week 1 and week 2 just to kind of learn a little bit more, and you want to play Watson on the road, but there is zero chance that you could put Watson out there week 3 at home. I would prefer if it was Shedeur to start week 1 and just, move on. But, there is no chance that you could put him out there week 3 at home.
My brother asked what was said, so I'm going to screen grab real quick from Daniel Ofusi, what was said. Hopefully my brother can read this. I'm going to zoom in for everybody real quick. I'm not going to play the audio because I don't know how that's going to work with copyrights and everything, but the quote...
I think it should be okay if it was from Twitter, but, just better be careful.
I'll just read the quote real quick. He said, quote, "I think the whole world knows it has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit more personal than that, so I think it's a disrespectful thing. Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. That same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So what does that have to do about performance? When a person gets hurt, especially if they're in the city and they cheer." And then he went on to say more or less about how the only negative energy he gets is in the stadium and on social media, but when he's out in public, he doesn't get that negative energy, which people aren't going to know what you're going to do if somebody comes up to you and says something negative about you. And obviously Watson's got plenty of negative things to say. But just it's better to go listen to it than to read the quotes, because listening to it, you get a whole nother vibe. And when, like I said, the media people are being open and honest about that press conference and how it's been one of the most bizarre ones they've been involved in, that's saying something, because the Browns have had a lot of bizarre things happen since 1999.
Yeah, like you could almost say like he finally hung himself out to dry. That this is something that maybe the Browns were waiting for behind there, and he finally did it to himself with the quotes that he had today, especially the one that you just read, but also the one that said, "I don't regret anything that I've done in my life." That one too is pretty terrible, and it just really goes to show how out of touch he truly is.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And I said it, Anthony, before you got in Thursday when we did our live stream talking about the joint practices. We talked about how people said this was the best practice Watson had. He looked good against the first team offense, throwing the ball downfield. It seemed like he was building up some confidence. And what happened in 48 hours against the third string defense, and then listening to the booing, and then what just happened at the podium, like one of the biggest
Turning around.
three. Yeah, it's just like a 180 just spun. And I don't know if you heard what my quarterback plan is, what I would do, Anthony, but I pretty
I
much,
saw your tweet about it. Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably send Watson home, just because you don't want that to get toxic in that locker room if he's going to be like a malcontent. You find a new backup if you don't think Gabriel can be it, and then you keep Taylor Green, because it seems like they really love his physical traits and want to develop him.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to him a little bit, like we talked about on Thursday how I couldn't see Shador starting prior to an unforeseen circumstance, and what we saw today is exactly what happened. I thought that Watson was the leader, and they were just going to kind of bring Shador along slowly, but what we saw today. And we talked about too, like how can you play him in the third quarter in this game with your backups? And with what we saw, like he doesn't even belong on the field with them. I don't
No.
know what happened from Thursday to today. Maybe it's just a protective bubble of practice, but him stepping out onto that field today is completely 180 from what we saw on Thursday. And I don't know what happened there, but maybe it's a good thing that we saw what we did.
I will tell you guys, because I've been able to confirm it. Obviously tomorrow, Todd Munkett and Andrew Berry are sitting down. I'm sure that's to go over the entire roster, but we do know this is going to be Lobby at the top of their uh, list of priorities to figure out how they go about this situation. Because there's no way you can start Deshaun Watson at quarterback, and I can say that with 100% confidence now. You cannot start him. I don't even know if you can have him in Berea. You might just want to send him home. He's guaranteed $46 million, so you're going to have to pay him regardless. And he's going to have to be on the roster because of the cap ramifications. But I would just send him home and figure it out from there.
Whether you cut him, whether you send him home, he's going to get his money either way. So might as well just cut the ties and officially release him next March when the new league year comes, and so that way it's better for you cap wise. But there's no need for him to dress at all on Sundays.
Anthony, any other takeaways from the game? How did you feel about how Shador played, and anybody else stand out to you?
Yeah, first with Shador, like I thought he had good, solid control of what they wanted him to do. Him inside the pocket today, he looked very calm. From what I saw, and even when there was pressure, he was able to step up and make the throw, the touchdown pass to Luke Floria. He was able to do that. The interception that he had, yes, he could have placed the ball in a better position for the tight end. Yes, the tight end should have caught it when it hit his hands. Both those things can be true, but from what I saw today, it just looked like he had good command of the offense. I would have liked to see him come out of the huddle a little bit better and have a little bit more time on the play clock and getting lined up. But that's something that can improve over time as you're learning a new offense. But from what I saw today, I was impressed with what I saw and probably what we needed to see from him, especially with what we saw from Watson in the second half. A couple other takeaways. I was very intrigued by seeing Austin Barber at right guard today. I know they've had some injuries on the offensive line, so seeing him in that spot is definitely a positive for his offensive line if there's some versatility there. And then Mike Hall playing edge. He had a pressure, then had a sack on the very next play. We talked about how with the Alex Wright injury, how the edge room is very thin at the moment. So for him to be able to go out there and give some pressure off the edge, and we talked about how Sam Kamara could maybe be that guy that could be that rotational player at defensive end and defensive tackle. Well, if Mike Hall is able to do what he did today, he could definitely be one of those guys as well.
Yeah, you talk about we like defensive linemen that have versatility, and when he was lining up at defensive end in practice on Thursday after the Alex Wright injury, which prayers up to Alex Wright. They're not saying yet, but from all accounts, it's an Achilles injury. So prayers up to him. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery because he was starting to break out as a pass rusher on this defensive front. But having a guy like Hall, if he can have that versatility and he can stay healthy, like he could be a key part of that defensive line in 2026. What do you think about that, Jake?
I thought today it was fantastic. Like you say, versatility. That's a reason I liked him out of Ohio State. It was kind of disappointing the way his career started off. Like you said, prayers up to Alex Wright. We just paid him. He was definitely, he's our second edge guy. We needed him to get them sack numbers up this year and play a big part in this defense, which we've heard it's Achilles. We hear he's probably going to be missing the year, which really stinks. But overall, Mike Hall today actually really impressed me. I thought he played extremely well. He caused ruckus in the backfield a couple of times, ended up getting that big tackle I can't remember if it was a tackle for a loss or a sack on that play. But, they're definitely going to need to look into some depth, obviously. And, overall, defense – it's preseason. I obviously we know our depth is a little thin, whether that be in the secondary, whether that be on the defensive line, especially with Alex Wright out. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how these guys gel this year. I definitely think we're going to take a little step back, which, it's important that the offense can put more points on the board this year if we want to win some games. But overall, like you said, versatility matters, and Mike Hall gave us a little glimpse of that today, and I think that's only a positive for the Browns moving forward.
For sure. And if we want to talk about negatives, Bill Sparks just brought it up. I need Trey Avery to be off this team. He got cooked, smoked, burnt, baked, whatever means of culinary use you want to use. Yeah, he did not do himself any favors. And I can just imagine at this point, guys, 2 or 3 moves in that corner room. Like, yes, Michael Coates probably going to make this team. I'd say probably Miles Harden's going to make this team, but we'll see. But I could see multiple moves being done. They continue to churn in and out corners, but I just think though that position is going to be one to watch during cut downs.
Yeah, absolutely. That position we talked about: corner, defensive tackle, tight end. All 3 of those spots. There's going to be some changeover. I feel like for sure.
Definitely, one guy I do kind of want to shout out today. I thought he had some good moments. Was Donovan McMillan.
He really stood out.
Yeah, Michael Coates. I'm really glad his injury wasn't serious, but McMillan he was all over the field making some plays. So you got guys that are undrafted guy like McMillan. We've seen those guys work out before. We've seen it with Ronnie Hickman, who's turned into one fine player at this level. Maybe he can be a bright spot given the opportunity. Like you said, like Anthony said, like I said before, we all know depth. So it's going to be, with roster cut downs, I'm definitely looking at who's going to be available, especially now in the quarterback room. I can't even believe that that's a possibility at this point. Like you said, we're not going to cut Deshaun Watson, but pay him to stay home at this point, maybe. You bring in another guy. So, yeah, there's a lot to go around. The game it's hard for me to really I've seen great preseason games from the Browns. I've seen really bad ones. I've seen people, oh my God, another 31-7 loss in preseason. It doesn't matter too much to me. It's all about operation, which I seen good operation from the offense today when Shador was in there. Defense early on I thought was okay. But, as the game goes on, you got guys fighting for everything out there. I'm not going to read too much into a final score. We know what the issues are, and we know what we need to fix and address.
Yeah, for sure. We know depth is a big thing that needs addressed, especially on the defense. I mentioned it during the game, talking to people like edge, D tackle, corner. I'm not concerned about linebackers because Jason Tarver turns the average Joe into a solid linebacker, and safety I think is solid. You mentioned McMillan, he might be the odd man out, or they might keep 5 safeties. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. But there's still work to be done with this team. I think the expectations are definitely low, but you feel good about some of these guys that stand out, like Rocket Sanders. I thought he ran the ball well today. Yeah. I think he's ideal to be the third running back on this team because he can be your short yardage guy and he can pop off a couple runs. We've seen it in practice. We saw it in game action a few times. I feel like the running back room is probably set with Judkins, Sampson, and Rocket Sanders. Maybe they make another move, but those guys stand out. And Blake Whiteheart had a nice catch today. The tight end room probably needs some movement. Obviously, Carson Ryan had a nice catch today too. But all in all, you look for individuals to stand out, and if they look like they belong on an NFL roster, that's kind of what the preseason's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want to see is, some of these guys that are fighting for their careers, fighting for their spots. You want to see some of them take advantage of their opportunities. And like Jake said, McMillan was one guy that did that today. Rocket Sanders. So the couple of tight ends, a little bit of improvement, but still a group that could get better. So you want to see these guys improve and show that they belong.
Yeah, for sure. Jokey, any more final thoughts before you head on out?
No, I don't think so. I think what I said with Watson, you can't start him. You got to move on. Just send him home and go with Shador and see what we got.
Yep, for sure. It'll be interesting when we sit back down Tuesday to see what happens in the next 72 hours, because I feel like
I know
there's going to be something happening. I have a feeling.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a wild time because they had talked about them making the decision on Monday. And, if you wanted some of these guys to have an actual dress rehearsal in the game next week against New England, you have to probably announce your starting quarterback. So looking forward to seeing how that all breaks down. But in terms of me getting out of here, I'll let you kick me out because there's so many buttons on here I'm not used to seeing. I don't want to accidentally end stream. So I'll let you eat me out of here, and I will see you gentlemen later.
All right, yes, Jokey, appreciate you, brother. Have a good one. You too. All right, Jake, as we wrap things up, is there any other thoughts from the game that you wanna share or discuss?
I just want to say one thing on that fourth down play, where Shador converted on that fourth down. I was so excited to talk about Zach Zinter at that point in the game, and then the wheels kind of fell off. But that was such a good block by him, man. And I loved him in the draft. I thought we got a steal. He avoided a serious injury, which I thought, when he was carted off, that I thought it was over again, and he looked really good to that point. And that was a hell of a pickup on that block to give him, that space and time to deliver that throw. And then a couple of penalties here and there. Blocking wasn't as crisp. But, overall, I thought the offensive line played okay today. It's gotten better, I would say. There's still obviously some penalties they need to clean up, which we all expected, and it wasn't our first unit out there anyways. But just the progress that we've seen from Fano, I think that's huge. Shout out to my guy Jared Verse as well, because I think that fight was intentional, and I think he wanted to see that dog come out of Fano. We've heard what kind of leader that guy is, and if you've played on a football team, sometimes you got to do that stuff to get the most out of people. So I think he unlocked something there. So, overall, outside of all the BS that happened after the game, we know what this season's going to be. It's all about figuring out, seeing our young guys grow, and I'm still, like I said, I'm kind of sitting at that. We'll probably only win 5 games. People, oh, well, we have the worst schedule. We won 5 last year. This is the NFL. It doesn't matter. Just kind of looking at how things are. We'll see. Hope I'm wrong. But overall, I'm optimistic. I am. I'm optimistic about what this team is doing moving forward. I've never been this optimistic about our future in my entire life. I think they're building this thing the right way. And the most important thing for me right now is I would think Shador is probably now going to be your QB1 moving into week 1. And the best thing that could somehow ever happen for this franchise is he ends up being the franchise quarterback. So I'm going to have my eyes on that. Hope that he can do it. And, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, you went, like, to go back to Zach Zinner, like, I don't know if he's going to make this team, but like you said, like, the offensive line looked good today, except I feel like in the third quarter, especially running the ball with Marshall, I don't know if it was a Marshall problem, but it just didn't feel like they were physical enough to try to open things up for him. But overall, I did think they had a really good day. I was a little concerned when I saw the entire starting unit was not going to be out there. It left me a little anxious and concerned about Shador and how he was going to perform, but they played great. I'm really curious to see who the backups are ultimately going to be for that team once cut downs and everything happens. But yeah, overall, I thought it was, from what we saw with the quote unquote first team, that they had solid work. Shador was solid. But yes, the depth is definitely going to impact this team in terms of whether we're going to be good or bad in 2026.
Yeah, that's where I kind of go off that 5 games as of right now. It's just the depth isn't there. We know that. We need to get a big contract off the books in order to build depth. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where injuries happen. It's the NFL. I kind of just plan for them to happen. Hopefully nothing significant. Maybe we can actually have some injury luck on our side for the first time ever, at least in the last decade. And, for me, it's just a year of growth. I've seen growth today. Obviously, we were all watching the quarterback battle play out, which I've seen a lot of growth there, which, was great, and I think that's really what you're going to be looking at for all these young guys. I mean, Carson, I think he is one of the best linebackers in the league already. I think he's already proven it. But it's another guy you want to see him take another step this year. All these young guys, you just want to see each week get better. And then, come draft time, come the offseason, the guys in the big room will sit down and go ahead and evaluate everything. They're seeing the same things we're seeing. They might have a closer look, but, we know what needs to be done.
Yeah, you just want to see growth out of the young guys this year, and that includes Shador. Like, at the worst case scenario, you see growth out of Boston, Concepcion, Fannin, Judkins, the offensive linemen that we drafted, and the guys on defense. Like, you just want to see them continue to grow. And at worst case scenario, Shador's not the guy, and we're in position to draft a franchise quarterback. Best case scenario, Shador's your guy on a cheap rookie contract, and you can build around that. And I think that's best case scenario for this team moving forward in 2026. But it's going to be a long season, Jake, and we'll be here to break it all down every week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Best case for the Browns, man. Let's go, Shador. You already know I got it on, my boy. Hope it works out. Progress, baby. I seen progress today, and that's what matters. And moving forward, I think he will be the QB1, especially after what transpired after the game. So it'll be fun to watch and break down and all that good stuff. And definitely like and subscribe. The Dawgland, they do a great job. I write for them. Him and Anthony are the ones running it. I hope you guys enjoyed everything we talked about. We honestly, sincerely appreciate all you guys joining in. Love talking Browns. Love throwing your comments up here and discussing. Always love having a good debate, keeping things respectful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was definitely our biggest live stream to date. Over 100 viewers still. We were up to like 130 at one point. I know our subscriber count went up during this show, so we appreciate everybody hopping in. Hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on social media at the Dawgland. That's Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Those are our main primary ones. Check out Jake's podcast, Scarlet to the Land. They're doing incredible work. Just had former OSU linebacker Steel Chambers on. It was a solid episode, brother. Really enjoyed it. And follow me on Twitter at JackMcCurry08. Until next time, as we get on out of here, as always, go Browns.
Go Browns.